In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.
So welcome to Becoming More. I am sitting with Jeremy Self, who I have known for about 20 years now, and I knew him as a pastor. Now, that's when I absolutely knew that I liked you a lot because of, you meet a lot of people and they talk a certain game. And I'm not talking about pastors right now. I'm just talking about people that they speak one way and act another. Mm-hmm. And your character, well, your audio matches your video is the best way I know how to say it. And I loved that about you. And then all of a sudden you decide to go into financial planning because you see how many people are in need of this, is what I'm assuming.
That's right, exactly.
So how long did it take you to make that decision? I bet it was tough.
Yeah, it was a challenging decision. Tony and I had co-led financial classes at our church, helping people for years. And it eventually became a desire on my heart to be able to do that professionally. And so it was about a year and a half long process from the time I first felt that till I actually made that jump. So,
it's interesting how when a calling and a purpose is put on your heart, how sometimes we fight it.
Yes.
Because we think, no, I was supposed to do this, and I committed to this. And what are people, did you think about what people would think?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, then that means you're human.
Especially the first person I told was my wife, and she was like, who are you and what have you done with my husband? So, yes, I definitely cared about what people thought.
Your family, I mean, not just your immediate family, but sisters of your wife and the father and mother of your wife. I mean, everybody followed you to Austin.
That's right.
From Alabama.
That's right, exactly. Yes.
So how did you tell them?
So they were actually all very understanding, but we did individually meet with all of them and sit down and explain what was on my heart to do. And my father-in-law particularly, he had always warned us, like, you guys don't, need to stop having kids. We have 5 kids, and so he's like, y'all need to stop having kids. Kids are expensive, and for pastors, you don't make a lot of money. And so he was actually pretty excited for us that I was going to be able to generate some income, and so that was pretty cool. Yeah. And my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, who were most involved in our church, they also were very supportive, which we were super thankful for.
Yeah, we all need that support from somebody, don't we? So important. Well, so I want to take you back. I mean, you're with Cedarwood.
Yes.
You've been helping a lot of people. You helped Tony and I a lot. And I just think there's something about people, though, that they fight this money thing. They have anxiety. They have stress over money. Is it because they don't plan enough?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think they don't plan, and I like to use this analogy when it comes to anxiety and stress related to money, and that is if you're on a boat in the ocean and you start to feel seasick, the captain will often tell you, don't look at the waves, look out at the horizon.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I encourage people and what I see people doing is they're looking at their immediate circumstances. That can create lots of anxiety for people.
That's so good.
So look out at your goals, and that's what's going to help you navigate that anxiety now.
Well, what you focus on expands, right?
That's right.
So true.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what are you focusing on? When I was doing some research for our MORE conference, I spoke about how many people, 76%, do not believe they'll ever be financially successful, that they live from paycheck to paycheck. In fact, most of them have credit card debt.
Right.
Did you find that when you were doing Financial Peace?
Yes, certainly. We would see people that would come in with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of credit card debt. And it was amazing to see the principle of what we're talking about, that what you focus on expands, because in a 9 or 10 or 12 week period of time in that class, we would see entire debt loads eliminated by people, and just because they got serious about eliminating their debt. And so living on a budget and eliminating debt was a big part of them starting to begin to build wealth.
You know, a friend of mine, Dale Alexander, he says you should live on 70% of what you make.
Yeah,
And
it's a great principle.
I think a lot of people start out, they live on what they make, then they get a raise, so they just up their standards of
Lifestyle.
living.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they never have any money.
That's right. And another thing that I see, especially for business owners, oftentimes they run their business as if it's their personal account.
They
And
commingle funds.
they commingle funds, and that's never a healthy way to win with your money.
Well, do they pay themselves first, or you find most of them don't pay themselves at all?
They don't
Is that
pay
right?
themselves at all.
Oh
Correct.
my goodness, so they're not running it like a business.
That's right.
Well, I want to get into some financial planning, and I love that word, planning.
Yes.
I just got off the phone with John Maxwell and Larry Maxwell, his brother,
Okay.
who is a billionaire, by the way, right? And he's made it through real estate investments, and he's owned banks, and he owned nursing homes. He got into health, all
Yeah.
because of relationships. And he started when he was young enough that he couldn't own the property. He had to put it in his dad's name.
Okay.
But he got the loan through the bank because of his dad. And I mean, all these things he was talking about. The number one thing he said, though, is people don't plan.
Right.
And I bet you find that there's thousands of financial planners. I'm called all the time. Hey, come to our event, come to a lunch, come to a webinar.
Yes.
What sets you apart?
Yeah. So I think, a couple of things that set us apart is that we are serving our clients at a high level.
Yes, you do, because I'm a client, and I will testify, because the other financial planners that we've had in the past were good, and some of them I never heard of. Heard from. Once they got the money and it was coming in every month, they just,
That's right.
so be it.
Yeah. So one of our core values as a firm is family.
Yeah.
And we want our clients to feel like family. And so we have something we call a culture calendar, and it's a connecting calendar. And that is for us to stay in touch with people. We want to provide value added opportunities for them. So things like monthly investment luncheons, monthly webinars.
I was on the webinar the other day, got some real good advice for all of you out there. These are real good for you, okay?
So all of those things help us stay connected with our clients. And then we have multiple touch points throughout the year that are on the phone or through virtual meetings, or through Zoom or whatever. So we encourage our clients to engage with us at those different levels, because we know that we'll only feel as close to them as they'll let us feel. So,
right. So you're building a relationship. You're giving them knowledge.
Correct.
A lot of the things you do are very innovative. And I think sometimes people don't pay because of price, yet you have to look at value over price.
Yes.
Now, I just want to look at the camera for just a minute as they're all looking at us and watching this on YouTube, or you're listening to it. I want you to think about how many are in your family. And if there's more than two, that means you got children. And do you have a way to take those kids to college? And if you're just putting it in a savings account, why would I use a financial planner over a savings account?
Yeah, certainly good question. There's tax reasons for it, because if you invest in the right kind of college savings plan, then when you take it out for qualified college expenses, you won't pay taxes on it, which is pretty phenomenal for anything that has any kind of growth, to not have to pay taxes on it. The second big thing is, working with a planner, we can forecast exactly how much you need to be saving to have this target that you shoot arrows at the side of a building and then draw the target around it is not a very good plan.
Like Charlie Brown.
So we come up with what is the actual target, and that helps us get to that eventual goal of what you need to be able to save for college.
So when you're working with someone,
yes,
how long is that first initial meeting that you have with them? Because I know you asked us a lot of questions, some of which we couldn't even answer.
Sure,
We
yeah.
hadn't thought about them.
That's right, yeah. So, my first meeting is always a fit meeting. And for you and Tony, I knew that we were gonna be a good fit because we had a relationship
Right.
already. But for someone that I don't know, I need to find out what do they value? What's gone on in their family? What's their first memory of money? So that I can get to know them and understand what their relationship with money is like before I can see, are we going to be a good fit? And I share a little bit about who we are as a firm and what we value. And it's a fit meeting for them too. They get to decide.
Yeah, if we want to work with you, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, like, first of all, working with our attorney, working with getting a trust, when do you think that people should start formulating that family trust?
Yeah, I think that the sooner the better.
Okay, so I'm just getting married. Do I establish a family trust right then? What do you suggest?
So maybe not,
Okay.
but you need to establish at the minimum a will at that point. And the reason for that is if something happens, you need to know where your assets are going to go. And you don't want the state deciding that for you.
No, I don't want, because I've seen a lot of things in selling real estate where probate got involved, and it was months. And meantime, the family members and what they were put through upon the passing
Yeah.
of maybe their mother or father was just like, I knew their mother and dad wouldn't want that for them.
Yes.
And so we're not thinking, we go, oh, I don't have time for that. Yet I believe we have to make time for this. Like on the call the other day, the lady that was giving the webinar
Yes.
talked about a legacy book.
Correct. Yep.
Well, Tony and I have a legacy book, yet it's been like 5 years since we upgraded it.
Sure. Yeah. And passwords on accounts have changed and accounts have changed and
Well,
all
our
of those
phones.
things. Your phone passcode has changed. Yes. All of those things.
When she said that people actually go to the morgue, and I don't mean to be awful here yet, just forgive me for a minute, yet it made sense. They said they're putting the phone up to their face.
Yeah.
Well, once you've passed, it's a different energy that comes out. There is no energy. That's why you passed. You got to have energy to be alive, right?
Yeah.
And so they're putting the phone up there and they can't open the
They
phone.
can't. Yeah.
They can't get all the information. And where is the information?
Exactly. Yes. All on our phone. Yeah. That's our personal computer that we hold in our hand every day.
I know. And what are the accounts? Where's the money? Who is
Yeah.
the attorney that you contact? Who is the trustee? And that brought us to something where you asked about, well, who do you want to take care of things if, like, both you and Tony pass?
That's right. Exactly. And yeah, having that person that is a trusted resource that
Yeah.
you believe will do what's in the best interest of your estate is critical when it comes to planning.
Well, and who's going to do something just in case that you're in the hospital and they need to make some decisions?
Yes.
Who's going to have that decision to make? And what are your wishes
All of those things.
that you desire? I know it sounds very, very morbid a little bit, and yet I trust that everybody's hearing this. Because I mean, I even wrote down what I wanted at my funeral. I mean, I want popcorn to be served. I want, when they're doing all those crazy pictures up on the screen that start out when you're a baby and it shows all your friends, and I want that song being played, thank you for being my friend, from the, what is it? Golden Girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I love that song.
So we're recording it here on video. So now
everybody knows now.
knows.
So
Yes.
when you cut, no butter on the popcorn, just that's all you're gonna get. I just want it to be more of a celebration. And the other part is, what do we want to be known for?
Yes, exactly. And really defining those things is so important when you're talking about a legacy. Legacy is leaving something behind that is valuable. And so if it's going to be valuable, then it's not about what you're against, it's about what you're for.
Oh, I love that. And so, Jeremy, what are some of the things, the questions that maybe they could even prepare should they decide? Because you do this all over the world.
Sure.
You don't have to sit down with them face to face.
That's
You can
right.
do a Zoom. you can
Anywhere
do
in
it
the
over
United
phone.
States, yes.
And I know you've helped a lot of our family members, I mean, in Salt Lake and various folks. So what are some things that maybe they should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think, it always comes down to, what are your goals, number one? What are your values around those goals? What kind of legacy would you like to leave? Who are the important people in your life? What is your family picture like?
Yeah.
What do you do for work? Obviously, what does that mean to you? What kind of work is meaningful to you?
Yes.
What is your recreation life like? What will retirement look like for you once you do pause and slow down? And I'm waiting on you to do that. So yeah.
Not supposed to retire. I think we're supposed to have fun and enjoy life and maybe slow down a bit.
Sure.
Yet I think, I mean, I want, when I pass, for somebody to say, just yesterday, she added value to me.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Well, and we kind of define retirement as the freedom to be able to choose whether or not you go to work or not.
Well, you know what? That I do have. I've got a lot of freedom of choice. And yet it's because we planned our money.
Yes.
Because a lot of the folks out there know I started putting my kids in a little red wagon because I couldn't afford a babysitter. And to be able to get where we are and to do what we've done.
That's right.
And I mean, Tony and I got married in 2006. So it was like the planning that he did, the planning that I did, and then we come together and we have a whole different ballgame to plan, because I had the money that I had accumulated, he had money he had accumulated. We just came with different baggage, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you sit down with people, you figure all this out. You talk about trust, and there's different types of trust.
Yeah.
I was amazed. I didn't know about a charitable trust.
That's right.
I didn't know about all these different ones.
Especially when you're planning for a legacy, those different types of trust are very important. And it almost is just about any kind of trust you can think of is possible. And if you write it a certain way, you can have the trust that way. You can make your trust, where everybody has to go to McDonald's once a week, every week after you pass away, and they have to spend this X number of dollars if you want to. That it can be that specific, and that's what makes trust so unique. And being able to spell
interesting when we were talking about this on the call that I just got off of before. It was very interesting that we had this plan today, and I got off that call.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how they had started a foundation. X number of money, X number of dollars were going to go to that foundation because they were going to leave the kids money to help them out. Money to allow them maybe to start a business or to do various things, yet not so much that the kids didn't have to work. And the kids had to be making so much money to get that money to come in. Now I've heard of that. Larry and John didn't say that yet. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Where you can put stipulations on everything.
Exactly.
You can have stipulations that if they're on drugs, they don't get any money.
Correct.
If they go to college, they get more than if they don't. If they have children, they get more than the ones that don't have kids. I mean, whatever you want to do.
This is becoming more popular by the year because people start to see when a large sum is received as an inheritance, it gets spent very quickly. And so more and more people are saying, we're going to put in our trust that people have to show verified W-2 income in order to be able to get a match every year, which is still significant if they're earning money to be able to get twice as much as they normally earn. However, it doesn't give them that windfall of cash all at one time so that they can plan it better.
Well, and it's kind of like with the lottery. When people win the lottery and they get
Exactly.
this windfall of cash, they say it's 5 years, that 70% of them will be right back where they were. And
Exactly.
the other 30% generally are just a little bit ahead.
Sure, and did we see this in a small way during COVID with
Yeah.
realtors who had a massive windfall because of the way real estate was going, and then we're here now in 2024 where interest rates are up and everything, and realtors that maybe spent all of that money that they made, then now are in a different situation.
I remember back in the day when 2008 and 9 hit, and Larry Maxwell was saying a lot of people, they didn't know the severity of that. It was a depression.
Sure.
He said people looked at it like, oh, it was tough times. No, he said it was a full out depression.
Yes.
And a lot of people didn't study it enough. And we talked about some of the things that happened during that time with the banks that he had invested in and owned, like 55% of, and they were being closed down.
Yeah.
Real estate and the things that were happening within his real estate investments. And
Mhm.
so it was interesting during that time that we really needed great financial planners, and yet people kind of steer away from you all. I hate to say
That's
that, they
okay,
do
yeah.
though, don't they? It's like, oh, I'll do that later.
Sure.
Oh, I'll do that later.
Yeah, there are people that I would say you have some scarcity mindset people who
Yeah.
do steer away from planning and they think later and they're always putting things off. Abundant mindset people, they're more prone to seek out planning because they know and believe that there's more coming and that
Yeah.
they believe that everything is possible. So in light of that, they do seek out planning oftentimes. So
you don't need to have, like, you don't have a clientele that says, unless you make X amount,
correct.
I don't meet with you.
That's right. One of my favorite things is to work with family members, right? So if I can work with someone, for instance, one of my clients, they're millionaires themselves, but they have a high school student and he wanted to open a Roth IRA. Well,
I think
last year
smart.
he can open a Roth IRA with $6,500
Yeah.
and he fully funded it. And this year he's fully funding it at $7,000 and he's 19 years old. And that is, I love doing that. I love helping family members. One of my younger clients that I really enjoy working with is a rancher. And he and his wife are so sweet. They started saving when they were really young and they're in their late 20s and they already have saved over $150,000
Wow.
as a young couple that are working hard. He's a rancher.
So good.
And I have loved working with them, just getting to see now they've had a baby and I'm getting to see them start to save for their child's college savings.
Yeah.
And all of those things. So I just love watching families grow and watch them start small, but they're building well.
The other part that I think is real important for our people to think about is all the things that you do can actually save in taxes. So it's
Yes.
not like you're costing them any money.
That's exactly right. That's one thing that I encourage for real estate agents. I talk to them about saving in a SEP IRA. That's a
Right.
solo employee pension IRA. And last year you could save up to $66,000 into a SEP IRA that would be pre-tax dollars. So
That's crazy not to do that.
yeah, and
They don't have to put in that much.
that's exactly, they don't have to put in that much, but up to that much, right? And so really neat, that comes off the business line item and the realtor is able to save money on taxes. One of my clients who's a realtor told me last year they saved $7,000 on taxes by investing $66,000 in a SEP IRA.
So here you are, they could pay the IRS,
Right.
or you could help them save money and I mean, it's not like they have to pay you a salary.
That's exactly right. They don't have to do that.
That's the part I like the best, to be real honest with you, is you help us, and it's through the income that we make that you make
That's
your
right.
income.
I charge a percentage of assets under care, and so.
Rightfully so, that's how realtors do it, that's how commission salespeople do it,
Good
so
point. Yes,
if people don't make money, you don't make money.
that's exactly right. Yeah, and the more money you make, the more money I make. So it's a win-win.
That's exactly right, and that's the way it should be, because when people are hiring you, a lot of times people think financial planner, I've got to pay them a salary because they're so used to paying salaries.
Okay.
And to know that they could do all of this, we've got to give them a phone number for them to contact right
Sure.
now, and then we'll do that again later.
Okay.
Yeah, how would they contact you, Jeremy?
Yeah, so they would contact my office at 737-443-4300.
Say it again.
737-443-4300.
So pretty easy one. We'll get that later, and we'll also post it. When people hold off, is it because they're frightened that you'll know all about their financials?
Sure, it could be, well, I would say most of the time it boils down to trust. Once trust is established, people are more open to share everything. But that comes with time, and I don't expect it to happen all at one time.
Well, or through a referral, because Tony and I trust you, and if they trust us, then that's kind of a relational trust.
It does happen to bridge the gap of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And trust is brought up because you understand them, which is why they have to meet with you.
Correct.
It's brought because of motive.
Yes.
Your motive is to help make them money.
Right.
And save them money.
Yes.
Through not paying taxes. So you've got the right motive. The activity that you do, I mean, you got a good track record, that's for sure. Character, why do you do this? Because you care about people, and I can testify to that. And I said earlier, your audio matches your video, so that says a lot right there. Yet all those ways of building trust, how often do you contact your people? I mean, I know how often you contact me, I just want them to know. Yeah,
sure. I contact people at least in just straight direct contact on the phone or in person, at least 6 times a year.
Okay.
And then additionally throughout the year, 24.
Okay. Then you also, though, sit down with us and reevaluate where we are every year.
That's right.
Because our net worth is going up, and trust that everyone else is. If that's the direction we want it to go, yet even if it went down, we have to make adjustments.
That's correct.
And it's a new planning period.
That's right. And one of the things that we have to always be doing is evaluating your comfort with risk.
Yeah.
As you get older, typically, your comfort with risk goes down, not up.
No, and mine has.
Yeah.
And as you said, where's your risk factor when it comes to the stock market? And sometimes I tell you, hey, I want you to look into this.
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be a very good thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
And some of it's crazy. Like when I had that idea about all of the barges that bring those containers over full of things. And there was a company starting where they rent those containers instead of having to buy them, and they sanitize them and everything. I said, find that company and invest in it, because the people that owned the barges and that were shipping, they did stop and they started renting because it was better for their bottom line. So you listened to me, you looked into it, and I appreciate all of that. So it can get very crazy is what I'm saying. When people call you, how long is that first meeting should they plan on?
Yeah, so I typically, when they call me and we just have an over the phone conversation, that typically is 10 or 15 minutes. I want to find out, have you ever worked with an advisor before, a planner? Have you had it? What was your experience like? I want to understand a little bit there. The first fit meeting is 90 minutes. And
Okay.
so we're sitting down. When it's in person, it's 90 minutes. I find virtually it tends to be shorter. For some reason, the timing doesn't translate in.
Well, they don't ask you if you need a drink of water. They don't need you, all those things happen, right?
Yes.
And so I think that would be it. Plus, you can only stare at a computer for so long. So you talk about trust, you talk about how to position their wealth so they keep more of it.
That's correct. Yeah, and be able to transfer wealth from one generation to the next. That's a big thing that we work with clients on.
That's the big thing that you've really helped us with now. And you've met with our attorney and everything to help us out and make certain all the trusts are correct. Okay, I want to hear, is there a horror story? Don't use names, I know you won't. Yet, what's something that we need to know about that maybe we haven't thought about?
So one horror story was a client who his dad had worked with a financial planner, and the financial planner changed firms. And when the financial planner changed firms, he had his dad sign a document, which is called a transfer on death document.
Mhm.
He signed that document, and that one document overrode what was in the trust. And it
Oh my
ended up leaving, instead of how it was worded in the trust was to leave the investment accounts to the children, it actually ended up leaving all of the investment accounts to the wife. And that was his stepmom. That was not the dad's intention, but because he signed that document, that overrode the trust. So the lesson from that is to always make sure that whatever your investment accounts are set up like match what's in the trust, even as you get older, and making sure that all of those things are synced up.
That's why they call you an advisor.
Yes.
A lot of people, I mean, you have a financial advisor, but you don't get advice. That's a little hard for me to understand. Okay, next part though. What's your best story that you can give? Because I love to have positive.
Yeah, so one of my favorite stories is a couple that actually was in full-time ministry for years, their whole life, and they worked hard in serving, but didn't make a lot of money. And they received an inheritance from their parents when they passed away. And it wasn't a tremendous amount of money, but they invested it wisely and they stayed in the market. We talk about having investments being in the market, not like time in the market, not trying to time the market.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So we're not trying to buy a hot stock here and,
It's like real estate. If you leave it in long enough, you're gonna make money.
Yes.
Same with stock.
That's exactly
You leave it in long enough. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so they did that, and we put together a financial plan for them. And when I got to sit down and show them that they could retire earlier than they expected because of this windfall of money that they'd received, they were so excited, and that joy that they had brought me so much joy.
Oh, wow, I can well imagine. That'd be so fun. So you're willing to speak with anyone that's listening to us, to just give a call to that number once again is?
737-443-4300.
Yeah, you're here in Austin. Don't let the 737 get y'all concerned. And now Cedarwood's been around for a long time.
Well, Cedarwood is a little bit of a fantastic story in itself. Our history is with 100 years worth of experience between all of the advisors that make up the company. So I'm super grateful.
Oh, and one of the things I really appreciate about you is you say, this is what I believe would be best, yet I'm going to run it by a couple of others. So it's a collaboration where it's always the best. And then you go to our attorney as well and you check it out.
Yeah.
You're not running up our attorney bill or anything like that. It's just a really great way. And I just trust that people that are listening to us will at least start that legacy book. How would they begin that legacy book?
Yeah, they are welcome to reach out to my office and we can send them a copy. It's the book that we provide is actually called the Family Love Letter.
I know, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's like about 35 pages. Don't let that deter you from doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what it does though, it helps answer any of those questions we talked about. And it can provide a great resource for you to take to an attorney's office to say,
Mhm.
this is what I want in my estate documents. So,
Well, and if there's something that's signed, even by signing that document and having it notarized, that booklet,
yeah,
that literally holds up in court.
it can indicate your desire, yes, with handwritten. In many states, and every state is different, but in many states, what it's called a holographic will.
And that's what
that
Aretha Franklin had,
That's right.
right?
Yes.
Is the holographic.
What
will.
you handwrite,
Yeah.
and that is the valid will.
It's what's dated last is what
What's
you
dated
told me.
last.
So
Yes.
anyway, not that we have to know all that, we've got to get started though.
That's exactly right.
That's it.
And I think, for us, we're doing 3 things for families. Investment consulting, that is giving advice on investments and specifically in the stock market. The second thing is relationship management, that is helping navigate with your CPA and your attorney what is in your best interest. And then third, advanced planning, and that is that tax mitigation, life insurance, long-term care insurance, all of those things that matter when it comes to planning for the future.
Well, and so let's say that they don't have a lot of money, they don't even have a CPA, they go to H&R Block, it really doesn't matter.
That's
They
right.
have to be planning.
Yes,
And the best time to plan is when you have some money.
sure, yeah, I say, it's an ideal client for me is someone who has assets, right? So they've gotta have money to be able to do
Yeah.
that. And with all of the planning that someone wants to do, I think that people sometimes get paralyzed by this sense of like, oh, I'm too late.
Right.
And it's never too late. It's never too late to begin saving. And the old adage is, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today.
Today, right?
Yes.
So that's what we've got to work on. I know that there's always questions that people wish I would have asked that I failed to ask. So what is that one question that you wish I would have asked you?
Oh, goodness. That is a good question. I wasn't expecting that one. Question that I wish you would have asked. Maybe a question about how I've been able to help you guys and what does that look like?
That is a great thing because I know how you've helped us. Let's look at from your point of view, because you have to kind of stay on after me.
Sure.
I mean, literally, you're calling, you're saying, when are we gonna do this?
You're a busy person.
Crazy schedule, and people think because I'm not working, so to speak, that I'm not crazy busy.
No.
Between my volunteer and everything and
Yes.
my travels, I keep pretty busy. So let's hear from you. What do you think? Because I know
Sure.
so many things you've done for us.
Yeah, so I think the first piece is that investment consulting and
Yeah.
on your investments have been able to provide that. I think the second thing is the wealth transfer piece.
Yes. Oh, that's a big
And-
one that you've helped us with.
Yeah, and so one of the things we looked at for your situation was that your life insurance that you had could be moved out of your current trust
Right.
into an irrevocable trust. So
That saved us a lot.
it lowered the amount of your overall estate, but then we were able to do something with that. We were gonna use that to pay any taxes that would be needed. So it was multi-purpose in focus, and the big thing was getting it out of the estate into an irrevocable trust so that it could be used outside of the estate, so.
Well, the other part is I think a lot of times people don't realize when they start building assets, what that's gonna cost the family members, like we have rental properties. So now all of a sudden they get these rental properties, well, the government keeps changing that.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, they think they're inheriting this wealth when the government says, pay us taxes.
exactly.
And oh, by the way, from what they bought it for to what it's worth now.
The cost basis,
Yeah,
yeah.
and now the kids are looking and they're going, I owe how much? And I
Yeah,
don't have a chance to sell the property to
that's right.
pay this off. And now they've got all this debt plus interest
All of those things.
accumulate. I think that's a horror story to me,
It is.
is that
certainly.
people thinking because they don't know. It's
Yeah.
not done maliciously.
Sure.
They don't know.
They don't know, yeah, and you know, if a parent was very real estate savvy, and then their kids inherit things that they may not be savvy towards, that can be very complicated for people, yeah.
Right. Well, and giving them the option to either hold on to the property and have the funds to pay the taxes.
Yes.
So they can hold on to it.
Right,
Or that they have time to sell the property if
Yes.
that's what they decide to do. And who gets what?
yeah,
I mean, that's the other part keeps juggling because our properties in Oklahoma are going up at a different rate than the properties in Missouri. And the properties in Missouri are different than the ones we own in Austin, and the ones that we own in Austin are different than the ones we own in
Yeah.
Denver. And so you're working to say, okay, which kid gets what happens here? And oh, by the way, what if the kids get in an argument, which
Hmm.
I know that never happens, right?
it happens more with property than it does with
That's what I've
assets.
heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. It's over the property.
Because cash is cash and it gets divided evenly, however
Yeah.
it's supposed to be, but property becomes more complicated.
Right, and so it's not that it matters because they're all in this grieving state. You
Mm.
make decisions well
Right,
when it's in grieving state.
yeah,
So we decided to bring in even another person as an advisor, yourself and a family member
yes.
that can help with
Navigate
all of
that.
this, to navigate it. So you have that intermediator, if you
Yes.
can, to help people out. Well, I've hoped that we've given you all some things to think about, because it is about planning.
Yes,
And that's the part that a lot of people just don't get when it comes to money. It's about wealth building.
it is,
And that's what you're gonna help us with.
absolutely,
Well, I
thank you.
know you've helped us a lot. So tell us how we can follow you on Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram. What are some of those things?
Sure, you can follow me at Cedarwood Financial Planner, Jeremy Self on Facebook. On LinkedIn, you can reach out to me as Jeremy Self, and then obviously online, cedarwoodfinancialpartners.com is our website.
Okay, and we'll put all of that at the bottom so you all have that. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank
It's
you,
been a
Dianna.
pleasure. I know that when we first met, I just instantly liked you and what you stood for, your values, your character, and we just had that instant. I love your wife Ashley and your kids, and
Thank you.
Sam has
Yeah.
been to our house.
And you've invested a ton in my family. Thank you so much.
I love everything that you've done to help your family and to help ours, and I just thank you so much, and trust that they will call you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us. Watch Becoming More, because today you learned about becoming more when it comes to your money.